The U.S. government has announced a plan to ban Chinese software in electric vehicles.
The U.S., where the White House has given federal agencies 30 days to take TikTok off all government-issued devices.
This morning, the clock begins ticking down for TikTok.
You know how the U.S. has been all tough on Chinese companies lately? They've banned TikTok, blocked the tech giant Huawei, and told some of the biggest names from China to pack their bags. And that's been the scene for the last few years. But while all the headlines were screaming about the social media, TikTok's data grabs, and smartphones, one Chinese company managed to quietly slip through the cracks. Not only did they get a free pass, but they also ended up buying some of the most trusted brands that now live rent-free in our homes. We are talking about Haier. And no, it isn't just that fridge company your uncle grumbles about when he's trying to fix the ice maker. They're now way bigger and way smarter than most of you can think of. But how did Haier manage to do this without setting off the alarm in Washington? And why didn't someone notice when they went from selling basic appliances to becoming a big part of all U.S. homes? This is the story of Haier. And be sure, you will never look at your fridge the same way again. When you think of big American appliance brands, Haier might not be the first name that pops into your head. But quietly, over the years, this Chinese company has become a major player behind some of the American appliances you see today. Haier's journey, however, is anything but ordinary. It's a story that started humbly, faced serious lows, and then climbed to incredible heights through guts, smart thinking, and constant reinvention. Haier's roots trace all the way back to the 1920s, when a refrigerator factory was set up in Qingdao, China. After China's Communist Revolution in 1949, the factory, like many businesses, was taken over by the government. But nationalization didn't do much good for it. For decades, the business struggled under poor management, heavy debts, low productivity, and terrible working conditions. By the early 1980s, the factory was deep in debt, owing more than 1.4 million Chinese yuan. They were producing barely 80 refrigerators a month. Workers hadn't been paid in months, and the situation was so bad that basic hygiene facilities didn't even exist inside the factory walls. The factory was basically on life support. Things might have continued spiraling downward if the tables hadn't turned around in 1984. That year, the Qingdao government appointed a 35-year-old man named Zhang Ruimin to take charge of the factory. Though Zhang didn't have experience running a factory, he did have a clear vision. He had studied modern business management techniques in the West and Japan, and he was determined to shake things up. One day, a random customer returned a refrigerator because it was defective. Then, Zhang went to inspect the warehouse stock. There he found that 76 out of 400 fridges were faulty. Instead of quietly fixing the problem, he made a bold and symbolic move. He told his workers to smash all the broken fridges with sledgehammers right there on the factory floor. He would no longer tolerate poor quality. And that sledgehammer incident became a legendary moment in Haier's history, a turning point that sparked a new culture focused entirely on quality and integrity. With new discipline and a laser focus on quality, things started becoming good. Zhang knew the company needed help fast, so he first made sure workers were paid by securing loans. He also brought in strict workplace rules to improve discipline and fix the messy work culture. To level up their skills, he partnered with the German appliance giant Liebherr. Even the name Haier actually comes from the last two syllables of Liebherr's name in Chinese. By 1986, the factory was profitable again, and sales were growing at an average annual rate of 83% between 1984 and 2000. But Zhang wasn't just thinking about refrigerators. He had much bigger plans for where Haier could go. In the first big phase of Haier's transformation, the focus was purely on brand building. Haier quickly became China's leading refrigerator brand, and even won national awards for quality. Then, in the 1990s, the next big phase began. Haier didn't just stick to refrigerators. Zhang and his team went out and started rescuing other struggling appliance companies, taking over factories that made air conditioners, microwaves, washing machines, and more. By 1997, Haier had acquired 7 companies, each time applying the same turnaround playbook: fix management, boost quality, and win back trust. As the 1990s came to an end, Haier set its sights even further. The internationalization phase. Instead of competing directly with giants like Whirlpool and GE, Haier started by finding niches, like selling compact refrigerators and wine coolers for college dorms in the United States. In 1999, they opened a small facility in Camden, South Carolina, and began building full-sized fridges locally. It was a clever move that avoided high shipping costs and built brand familiarity in a very competitive market. By 2005, Haier was ready for its next big leap: global branding. They wanted people everywhere to recognize and trust the Haier name. Through strategic acquisitions like Sanyo Home Appliances in Japan and Fisher & Paykel in New Zealand, Haier not only expanded their global footprint, but also added thousands of valuable patents. In 2009, Haier became the world's #1 major appliance brand, a position they would hold for the next 15 years straight. But Haier's real secret wasn't just buying companies or building more factories. It was a new way of managing called Rendenhei, which was introduced around 2005. Haier broke itself into thousands of small, independent teams, almost like mini startups, where each group was responsible for making its profits and keeping customers happy. Employees weren't just regular workers anymore. They became entrepreneurs inside the company. And this model encouraged agility, innovation, and real accountability, so the company just grew at a breakneck pace. To really lock in its spot in the American market, Haier made one of its boldest moves in 2016. After a few successful smaller acquisitions, Haier struck a $5.4 billion deal to buy GE Appliances, one of the most trusted household names in the United States. Understandably, people worried about job losses, cultural clashes, or government blocks. But Haier handled the acquisition with transparency and respect. They kept jobs, gave performance bonuses, and even changed the work culture for the betterment. They changed everything about GE's old management style. This wasn't just about getting a brand. It gave Haier real manufacturing power in the US. Not long after, in 2018, Haier acquired Candy, an Italian appliance brand, which further boosted its European presence. This global expansion strategy paid off handsomely. Fast forward to 2024, Haier is reported to have $37 billion in revenue, which made them the second largest appliance company in the world, even bigger than LG and Whirlpool. From smashing broken fridges on a factory floor to shaping the future of smart living around the world, Haier's story shows what can happen when a company refuses to accept its limits and dares to think. But the question is, how did Haier manage to get approval from the US government? After all, the US has been pretty sensitive when it comes to Chinese companies taking over American ones. So did the US government just overlook Haier's presence? Well, the truth is, Haier didn't try to sneak anything past anyone. They followed all the proper steps, stayed transparent, and didn't hide information like the other Chinese companies did. If you look at companies like Huawei, ByteDance, or China Oceanwide, they all raised red flags because of the risk of espionage, mainly because they deal with massive amounts of personal data from millions of Americans. There's another layer to this too. By 2018, it was reported that about 73% of private Chinese companies had Communist Party units inside them. And for China's top 500 companies, it was even higher. So, where does Haier fit into all this? Well, Haier is an appliance company, simple as that. Washing machines, fridges, things that didn't seem like security risks. Unlike social media platforms or telecom networks, appliances weren't seen as tools that could collect sensitive data. That's why when Haier wanted to buy GE Appliances, the US government didn't see it as a threat and approved the deal. But if we talk about 2025, the appliance industry isn't the same as it was back in 2016. There's been a major shift, the rise of the Internet of Things or IoT. Now, appliances are smart. Your fridge, washing machine, TV, even your locks and lights are connected to Wi-Fi and can collect data. These devices offer lots of convenience, better energy efficiency, remote control from your phone, and smart features, but they also raise big privacy concerns. And guess who's leading the charge in smart appliances? Haier. Not only does Haier make smart devices, but it also creates interconnected systems. For 6 years straight, Haier has been named the leading IoT ecosystem brand. Their products aren't just smart individually, they are designed to work together, sharing data across your entire home. Haier's move into smart tech makes sense from a business perspective, but it does raise new questions, especially because Zhang Ruimin, the man who built Haier into what it is today, is not only still the chairman and CEO, but he's also a longtime member of the Chinese Communist Party. He even served on the 16th Central Committee back in 2002. So, putting it all together, Haier might end up on the US government's radar soon, especially if its smart devices are seen as a potential security risk. At the same time, the ongoing trade tensions between China and the US could also impact how Haier operates in the country. Things are shifting fast, and what was once just a regular appliance company is now deeply tied to data, connectivity, and global politics.